Okay guys, carrying on from the last video, this article is regarding the Republic via a gold currency reset dated October the 30th by Intel Dinar Chronicles.com. 1. The RV revaluation is in its final phase of completion. We're told 800 numbers will be coming out at some point this weekend. No specific time has been given. There seemed to be a lot of disinformation being introduced at the end. Best to ignore all late breaking intel and just go with what you already know from voices you trust. The revaluation has been underway all week and continued into this weekend. Zimbabwe was issuing new sovereign debt on Monday morning, October the 31st, 2016, which for me guys is today. The revaluation was invisible for the most part, just a series of pre-negotiated events that were now being carried out in crisp order, including domestic politics with public announcement, new currency introduction, and postponement of national elections. And guys, that's a key one, postponement, because we know on the 8th of November it's the US election, so we're coming into a very critical time when none of us really know what is exactly going to go down. We just know it's going to go down. Number 6. Even Hillary's email scandal was carefully scripted and time released for this moment in the best interests of both Republicans and Democrats. GESARA was 100% known to all parties and rolling out with the implementation phase of NISARA, gold currency reset, revaluation, and the USN, etc. We were just finding out who, what, why, and how, though everything had long been completed. The transition has been coordinated with 209 sovereign governments per signed treaties. Number 9. The gold currency reset release has been organized with unprecedented caution and security to safeguard your personal well-being and physical health both in the short and long term. They had to keep the process secret as long as possible to thwart off all bad souls from compromising exchanges. Number 10. The 800 numbers would be sent via email entitled TETELESTAI and or be broadcasted on normal currency update websites such as thechronicles.com, Twitter, the TNT team, and obviously the other links here guys. Number 11. When you get this email, call the 800 number and set your appointment. Very simple, very safe, very lucrative. There's plenty of time, plenty of appointments, plenty of exchange liquidity for all currencies, plenty of professionals to guide you through the process. 12. This would be a drama-free event. Choose calm over chaos. In all situations, be at peace. For all as well. So guys, this website, I believe, has a sort of a lean towards information from the White Dragon Society, because there's a behind the scenes movement where the new order of whatever it is that's going to be, whether it's a continuation of a dictatorial established globe, a new world order, or whether it is a change from the new world order that we have into a more spiritual, fair exchange, good for the planet. Because deep down we all know that that there is this grip that is taken hold like a cancer spreading across every continent, every race, every religion. And there's not a lot we can actually do about these things. But all we can do is share information, prepare ourselves the best way we can for an event that could potentially cause a reset due to the astronomical amounts of debt inside this current system. And no system is immune to decades of manipulation. And there's so much information we don't actually even know or understand about, simply because a lot of it goes into the occult nature, which, unless you're educated into the significance of numbers and sacrifices, deep-rooted agendas, then you won't see the significance of this crossroads that we currently have. But what I like about the positive tune that this site has is it gives people hope that things are being controlled by people or entities higher than ourselves, and they actually have good intentions for humanity. Because the problem with having all this negative effect on our lives about knowing a reset is common. It can wane on your emotion, it can wane stress on your shoulders, which is important to understand. It's not for us to hold that burden. We have our roles to play, and our role is to look after ourselves and our family and prepare ourselves, and to try and help other people. Like with me doing videos, I try to help and reach other people. Try to put a different slant on things in my perspective, how I believe things look. And it's for you guys to take information from people like myself and conclude to your belief, your educated understanding, and then decide what is important for you. So I'm going to go on to another article from this site, which is titled "The Power of One," and it's like a poem, but Zap, who is a guy that writes the articles on here, has a comment. Quite a long read, but I'll just share it with you anyway, guys. Zap says, "Hi all. It has been an exhausting week, with the formal end of several decade-old agreements. The Matrix funds were released a few days ago. They are now being prepared for distribution and usage. Perhaps this is what everybody has been awaiting. With the release, the historic assets and other items will begin and funds will flow. I think so. This is the event I've been waiting for all these years, and finally it has come. Looks like the fulfillment of the divine plan is at hand. Interestingly, everybody at the high levels knows this. This includes the current incumbents and the prospects running for office. On one side, the Republicans that know are putting their faith in their delegate to do the right thing when he gets into office, and the Democratic side is doing the best to find a hole to crawl into and pull it in after them as their revelations of indiscretions, corruption, and general rape and pillage are being exposed. What an interesting real-life circus. Regardless of who gets into power, it will make no difference to what is coming in respect of the reconstruction projects. Our work is focused on this, and only this. There is way too much work to get into the political morass out there, and that would only colour what I do and what our collective enterprise does. We must remain neutral as far as politics and religion are concerned, but I do have a strong opinion as to who is dark and who is light in that respect, and I do not mind voicing this opinion from time to time. Am I an activist because of that? Nope. I just have an opinion, but it has nothing to do with the work ahead of us all. One fellow, a senior analyst inside the FBI, said some interesting things. This was sent in, but no link to the article. It was a bit of a read, but it has many salient points, so forgive me for posting the whole thing. I believe it is worthy." And it goes on like this, guys. "This could be the most interesting election ever. There is intense pressure within the FBI for us not to indict Hillary. I am posting this from a position of near anonymity and enough plausible deniability to evade prosecution, as we have all been given gag orders. There is enough for Hillary and the entire government to be brought down. People do not realise how enormous this whole situation actually is. Whether she will be indicted or not depends on how much information about others involved gets out." And I'll just pause there, guys, because that links into this whole Julian Assange dead situation with WikiLeaks. So the most damaging information may be released via the dead man switch, or perhaps it will be doctored and certain aspects removed so as to prevent the very serious implications of the released email. So did he die just at the right time for them to infiltrate into this WikiLeaks network? Maybe that's why he wasn't taken out earlier, because they had to find a way to get into this network so they could change the information without it automatically being released via the dead man switch, which obviously is a very complicated situation to get through, I guess, cryptographic protections and other internet security devices. I mean, I'm not into high-tech understanding, so I won't be describing it correctly, but you get the gist. And there are a lot of people involved. The real point of interest is the Clinton Foundation, not the email server. We received the server from Benghazi. Then from the server we found data on the Clinton Foundation. Then we realized the situation is much worse than previously thought. Super classified materials on the Clinton email server. Hillary had special access programs on her server, which if made public would literally cause an uprising and possibly foreign declarations of war. A special access program is an intelligence program classified above top secret. These programs are supposed to be held on closed servers at secret locations. The only way to get one is if you are specifically led onto a program, have a need to know, then you must physically go to a location and pass through several layers of security to even look at the program. A good example in non-classified terms would be the locations and operations of our intelligence operatives around the globe, or our missile silo locations. Killing Hillary would not cause this problem to go away. The problem is with the Clinton Foundation, as I mentioned, which you should just imagine as a massive spider web of connections and money laundering, implicating hundreds of high-level people. Though I do not have a high opinion of Hillary, she is just a piece, albeit a big piece, of this massive shitstorm. Legal is asking preliminary questions about whether or not she has been coached, she has, and setting up the general line of questioning. I am a high-level analyst though, so my job is only to look at her records. The Department of Justice is most likely looking to save itself, find everyone involved in the Clinton Foundation, from its donors to its board of directors, and imagine they are all implicated. The entire government is involved. My opinion is the entire government is guilty of treason, which is why Hillary's death would not cease the investigation or prevent further scandals. Many people are involved. There already is enough to indict. FBI Director Comey has been trying to stall because he doesn't want to face the Clinton machine, as well as the rest of the Washington DC. But this case would explode into a million other cases if fully brought to light. And then we would be one agency competing against the entire government and a horde of other interests. It is a very tense and uncomfortable position. What Attorney General Loretta Lynch is saying is she will accept whatever they do and make her determination as she will. Nothing about her responsibilities has changed. She is simply trying to keep her head intact. Foreign powers have some of the documents. Trump has some of the documents. Russia will probably leak all info they have. Foreign powers are in possession of some of the documents we have analysed because they were hacked from the Clinton server. Trump has some files as well and likely plans to leak them and use them to his advantage soon. The leaks will have to be made in a non-transparent fashion. If we recommend, we literally hand over documentation implying the entire government is involved in treason at the highest levels and everyone is about to duck and cover, as well as some sensitive details of special access programs which would obliterate national security. I'm not sure, but some of my war strategy buddies are estimating a high probability that Russia will leak all of the info they have to the world, since Clinton wants to go to war with them, and they have no desire to be in conflict with the US. If we do not recommend, it will look like a cover-up, and Trump will use the perception to bolster his message. I did work in PSYOPs once, and Trump's use of confirmation bias is legendary. Bill Clinton will likely die this year. If Trump wins, Hillary goes to jail. Everything is corrupt. Even Trump is dirty. The entire government is corrupt. No one is clean, not even Trump. Trump has donated to the Clinton Foundation in the past, though for fairly innocuous things, like building permits and such. He is smart, so his tracks are covered well. But if any prosecutor wants to go very in-depth, Trump would be brought on bribery charges. He could easily get out of them, but he would be charged nonetheless. We have our hands tied. My message to you and everyone on this board is to not get distracted by Clinton's emails. Focus on the foundation. All of the nightmarish truth is there. The emails will pale in comparison. I do not know Trump's record, but from the case he definitely knew to limit his exposure and make it only look like a donation. A multitude of scandals. Saudi Arabia visits and donates to the Clinton Foundation. Russian uranium fiasco. Hillary and the Israeli lobby. The Council on Foreign Relations. AIPAC. The list is endless. 3 choices could crash everything. I will put it to you this way. You have 3 choices. 1. Turn over all the information of the Department of Justice. Make public a recommendation. The truth comes out. The entire world realizes how much the US is meddling in foreign affairs and we go to war. The civilian population realizes how much foreign money influences our government and a civil war begins. 2. You cherry-pick the data to implicate the people already in the eye of public opinion, so the chips fall on the heads of the select few and the whole system does not crash. 3. You do nothing and watch the unstable political climate to gauge how you will respond. I am confident if Trump wins, Hillary will be going to jail. The problem is the entire government. FBI Director Comey will likely resign in any case. FBI is being very quiet for a reason. Most of us want to keep our jobs. Snowden has nothing to do with any of this. Obama and Hillary do hate each other. Hillary hates black people and Obama dislikes recklessness. The problem is with the entire government. Hillary is just one component of that government. Hillary sold safe access programs to overseas, quote, donors, end quote. All I can tell you about the safe access program is Hillary had them, and she did not have proper authority to have any of them. They were leaked to her by someone, and she did sell them to overseas donors. Possessing them alone makes her guilty of treason. Obama is loosely tied to the Clinton Foundation, much more tied in with the same people who donate to the Clinton Foundation. Russian borders, Ukraine, everywhere NATO is, the South China Sea, the Philippines, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Africa. George Soros is at the heart of it all. If it comes down to it, I would fight. But most of us are of the opinion that Hillary will not be president, and having Trump in office makes our job that much easier. But right now we have to carefully wade through the mud. As I stated before, Bill Clinton likely wanted Loretta Lynch to focus on the email server and shy away from prosecuting the foundation. We will go to war with Russia and possibly China if Hillary wins the election. Needless to say, if anyone has any doubts about the validity of the above info, it stands to reason that the originator of this info has to conceal his identity, as anyone present at the FBI hearings was sworn to secrecy, and leaking any info would at least cost him his job and most likely some jail time to boot. At the worst scenario, someone probably would put out a contract on him. Most of us know, at least the ones who have paid any attention to politics, know that in the past, anyone who in some way or another has crossed the Clintons has met an unexplainable early demise, and I believe Vince Foster was no exception. Some other content in this article appears to reinforce its validity, as whoever penned it did not make out Trump as just an innocent bystander, as even he used bribes whenever he thought it be necessary to get approval for one of his many projects. Even so, bribes should never be the road one has to embark on, but in retrospect, considering everything else, whatever he has done pales in comparison with what the Clinton Foundation is guilty of, along with many other entities within our government. Many of the younger generation leaning towards socialism, liberalism, or maybe prefer to be called progressives, as it doesn't sound as harsh as being called a socialist, may refute or may be skeptical of the validity of the above article, but should keep the following in mind. The kind of socialism, as it is being practiced and being preached now, is a far cry from what it was during the days of Kennedy, as over time, socialism has become quite radical and rather rabid as well, with no holds barred, and just about anything will go as long as it achieves the desired goal. If Kennedy, who was a liberal, would show up today, Democrats would undoubtedly make every attempt to run him out of town, accusing him of being a conservative. After considering and digesting the article you have just read or listened to, you may want to give some serious thought to who you are going to vote for, as I believe a government which is less than honest is not in the best interest of the public, and in the long run is doomed to fail, like many others before have. I just hope that there are still enough wise and honest people left within the current regime who are willing to step up to the plate and somehow settle the issue without doing permanent damage to this once great nation. And that's where the FBI analyst article ends, and it goes back to Zap's comments. But before I read the next comment, I just want to also add regarding this voting. We already know that the voting is so rigged. There's been people recording issues with voting machines where they're voting one party and the cross is going into another box, and this is with the George Soros voting machines, and they are all written through program, and you can guarantee that it's going to be a 51 or a 52% to 48, even though preliminary indicators are showing that it's going to be a landslide for Trump, somewhere in the 80% figure. So there's going to be huge manipulations on this voting systems, and there's also talk about people being loaded into buses and driven around voting stations where you don't require IDs to vote. I think it went by the name of bus voting or something like that. And I believe New York is one of the states that you can do that in. So this is going to be a very, very messy election, which is going to be coming in the next 8 days. It's going to be done. It's going to be over. And we're going to see exactly how this comes out, what is going to happen. So it's quite a tense time when you think about all the potential possibilities that can happen on a global scale from this event. It isn't just an election. This is quite possibly a battle for things that we don't even know about. At the moment, it's only political on the surface through the mainstream, but we can see the increasing pressures from the military aspects. We can see the bunker situation with drills coming from Russia. We see armies moving locations. We see situations in Asia where hostilities are being shown towards the states. So this really does look like a paradigm shift from one power to another. We know China are massively buying everything, expanding their debt, and are bailing out effectively corrupt nations, debted in nations, buying up all of the resources and infrastructure that they can, expanding their control across the globe. So again, following on from my previous video, is this just a transfer from one dictatorship into another? Who is the real power behind this all? Do you think it is actually human? So let's just see what the rest of this article says. I hope too that the US will survive this internal crisis. The cabal agenda of controlling both sides has fallen apart with Trump throwing his hat in the ring. Now they cannot orchestrate an election to their liking and have to contend with a leaky ship about to go down, as it is their only boat in the water since Trump will have nothing to do with them. Trump wants to get into a president so he can clean house properly. At least the FBI director is doing the right thing. And guys, I'll just stop there again, because when you look at the situation with the new Philippines president, Rodrigo Duterte, he also has cleaned house. He is also fighting the corruption. But yet in the media spotlight, he is seen as a tyrant, murdering many people and having the UN and West sticking their noses in on grounds of human rights violations. Because that's what the current cabal does. If it's not them that are controlling the situation, then they will paint via the media a very different light on the people that are fixing the issues. You can see that with many countries' leaders that have had military conflicts with Western forces. And you guys know who I'm talking about. Gaddafi, Saddam, and on it goes. So I'll leave it there, guys, and we'll see how this unfolds as well over the next coming few days. And the last article from this site was posted on the 30th, yesterday, submitted anonymously, quote, boom, here we go, end quote. And this is representing $1 versus 1 Iraqi dinar. And you'll notice that they were trying to gold back the Iraqi dinar. There's lots of talk of it, where it's going to be revalued. And this is obviously a screenshot as to a correction in value, much like what happened with the pound when it crashed in value. And it just says, this market is soft. For it to rip 10 points higher this quick tells me it's thinly traded. The true value of supply and demand of dinar in country versus our country is showing. And as we know, the US dollar is going to be the last currency to have shockwaves go through its value. We can already see that happening in the British pound, which has lost something like 20% this year against foreign currencies. So bear in mind, when the UK had the Brexit vote, and it lost, I think it was about 12 or 13% during that June period. Imagine what's going to happen to the US dollar valuation against other currencies if Donald Trump wins. And this is kind of like a heads up to you guys, because a lot of people in the UK were caught out with investments during that period. So if you're holding amounts in US dollar form, and if you believe Donald Trump is going to win, that is extremely anti-establishment, which means there is going to be serious implications on its value. And you could be also looking at a 10 to 20% drop if Trump wins overnight. So my advice to you guys would be looking to safe harboring it into something like the gold money site, which I did a video on previously, or you can buy things like Bitcoins just to safely harbor during this transition period. Because believe it or not, both of those two aspects of diversification massively benefited during that stage. So guys, we're going to leave that one there and move on to some other stories. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.